you playing small does not save the world. There's nothing a lot enlightened about shrinking so that other people don't feel insecure around you. The solar gives people the freedom that they've never experienced before. You need to do exactly what you're supposed to do, because you doing what you're supposed to do can have the largest impact on those around you. It's kind of two factors. One is necessity, and secondary is finances. That's not who God made me to be. He made me to be this guy that can keep getting rejected and keep standing up.
Caleb, welcome to the Point of Impact. So glad to have you here.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
Well, you know what? I don't remember exactly where I discovered your YouTube channel. It's probably some kind of Facebook group, but it was so intriguing. I think maybe it was because of my army background, bomb squad background, doing trying to make do with what I've got, uh,
Yeah.
and finding you're repurposing buses. So
Yes.
tell me first, like uh, where did you get this idea? Where did do you have what is that? What is the background that brought you into this?
It's kind of two factors. One is necessity, and secondary is finances. My wife and I, back in 2016, 17, we sold our house, quit our jobs, and decided to travel around America for a year. So we did 44 states, 45,000 miles in 10 months. During month 9, we found out we were pregnant with our son after being told we couldn't have kids. So that was quite the surprise. And then during that trip, I started this kind of newfound passion for videography and YouTube and content development. And when we did that trip, we started out with no jobs in line. We just had some money to explore and spend some time together. But then we started doing this YouTube video thing. And then that unfolded into kind of like the next trajectory of my career, which was making content for people, making YouTube videos for people, and pursuing that. And after having our son, staying with my in-laws in different rooms with different people across the states, a bus was a way for us to have our own little home that we could actually buy and afford, and then allow us to go travel around and do some videos for people. So we started that process with like $10,000 after selling our FJ that we traveled in. And then we thought that we could, like most people, do this project in a very short period of time. So we thought we could do it in about 3 months. And then that turned into being a 2-year task. But during that process, we actually documented the entire story. So from selling the FJ to trying to find a bus to flying to Philadelphia to get the bus, it breaking down on the way home and ripping out the seats to then put all the new stuff inside. So it was a slow going process that we were fortunately able to kind of like persevere through and figure out, thanks to YouTube University. And then during that 2-year period, people just started watching the content, becoming fans and following us and subscribers. And then they started reaching out. They said, "Hey, could you help us with deleting this window?" It was like $100 job. Could you help us with replacing this water pump? A little project. And then those just started to compound and get a little bit bigger, a little bit more complex. And then somebody reached out asking us to do a full conversion. And we're like, yes, I am not in a position to say no to anything because I have a wife and a child to feed. So yeah, I will do whatever I can to make some money right now. And then fortunately, because of my work ethic and understanding of systems and I guess kind of tenacity, of perseverance to figure out these solutions, we developed a product that actually performed very well for that family, and they were very happy. And people saw that, and it just kind of started going. And then 3 years ago, after doing professional builds for a year in a field in Tennessee, we decided to move to Wilmington, North Carolina. We got kind of put in a spot to have to make a jump. And we've always talked about moving to North Carolina, and Wilmington was a good spot on the map. So my wife's like, let's put our money where our mouth is. And if we're going to do it, let's do it. And as soon as we got here, things just started to kind of fall into place very blissfully. So
That's pretty incredible. What were you doing like before you got started, but actually, I was just thinking too. This was right around 2000. You said 2017 ish. You get the idea to sell off your home and drive
Yes.
around the country, right?
Yep. Yeah. We planned it for 2016. We started
Mm-hmm.
the trip at the end or at the beginning of summer. So like May of 2017. And then we drove around for 10 months. Um, so yeah, we had our son in November of 2019, no, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And then we bought the bus about 9 months later. So the summer of 2019. So right
So
as
the
COVID was
first,
happening.
so the first tour was in a van, RV. It's something pre-made.
Yes. Well, we had a Toyota FJ Cruiser, a little two-door 4Runner FJ, and well,
Sure.
that was my wife's like commuter vehicle to work. We had done a couple of like trailer rides and trips in that. We realized that you know what, we don't have to go spend $4,000 on a cruise to have a good time together. We could just put fuel in this vehicle and drive around the Tennessee back roads and spend time together and have just as much fun. So we were like, you know what? Let's make our life a little bit more simple, and just drive around and spend time together. Let's just see what the country has to offer. We could have done 6 months abroad in different countries across the world, but we were like, you know what? We've never even been to, I think collectively between her and I at that time, we'd only
Mm-hmm.
been to like 10 or 11 states. So it's like, how can I say that I'm going to explore the world without even going in my own backyard? Because America's got so many different types of ecosystems within a 12-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's incredible how uh, vastly different our country can be from one state to the next.
oh,
Whereas
yes.
everybody talks about going overseas, but like you said, there's so much so many places to go and see that is just so eclectically different.
Oh, completely. I mean, like, and we had done 45,000 miles in 10 months. So like we were hauling, we were driving every single day. We didn't stay in the same spot twice. Um, and it's cool because now there's new places that we get to visit with our kids, which will be a whole new experience. Now that we have four kids, we're kind of planning to see what travel looks like with them,
Hmm.
and go back to those places that really changed our perspective. I mean, going to Chicago, then going to Valley of the Gods in Utah, to then going up to the UP in Michigan. I mean, all like those three places changed my life indefinitely. And I'm excited to go back with those and also see that those same spaces through the eyes of my kids and the wonder that they get to experience within that.
How
And
many
like,
kids do you have now?
we have four. Milo is 7, Ella Rose is 5, Adeline is 2, and then Lorelai is 2 months old.
Wow, that's that's a good herd for
Yeah.
bus life.
Yes.
In fact, I
Yeah.
definitely do want to get into that. It was interesting too that I I don't know exactly when the whole van life thing, like the Sprinter vans and all of that, really started to get take off in popularity. I do remember mid 2019 accidentally uh, over purchasing like a subscribe and save and forgot to turn it off or something and had a huge stockpile of toilet paper and then COVID-19 happened,
Yeah.
so I was
Yeah.
lucky in that way. I had the foresight, but
Yeah.
you it doesn't for you though. It was like you started this niche. Uh, I don't know. Kind of turned into an occupation just before things started to get kind of the demand came for. What were you doing before this? What was your chosen occupation?
I was an assistant manager for Discount Tire Company.
Okay, and
So
oh, go ahead.
yeah, so I mean, I didn't have any of this prior experience to build these things, but I'm just cheap and stubborn. So
And then, what was the thought process here? Why not just go buy a Winnebago?
uh, cost finances. We actually looked at it. I remember my wife and I we were in staying with my dad in Philadelphia, and we went to Camping World and to RV USA and looked at a bunch of these different campers. And like, the price of a camper can range from $12,000 to $400,000. So we're
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, what does this look like to actually buy one? Can we find one that fits us? And even a decent one that was just kind of livable, that would fit our needs on the cheap side was 50 grand. And I mean, we were just starting to do the videography stuff. I didn't have an actual job. We just had some money still stacked aside from the trip and selling the FJ. So we are like, all right, like I think I could build. I mean, back then you could buy a bus for $2,000. Our bus was expensive back then at $4,000. And it's like, okay, cool. Pre-COVID and material jumps, $5,000 in a build would go a pretty long way. And us previously living in a tent, uh, air conditioning wasn't a priority. Like we didn't really need much power. We just needed four walls and a place to sleep, or four walls, which would then turn into a place to sleep. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the bus was just the cheapest financial option for us that would give us what we needed for the price we could afford.
And I I remember my grandfather had one of those. It was like land yachts, like the higher end. Like you said, it was upwards of $400,000. This thing must have been up there, and this was back in the '80s. Uh, it it looked to me when I was a little kid, it looked like some kind of rock star touring bus, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was just for him and my grandmother, and I remember him complaining about how much it cost just sitting there, but
yeah,
even more so how much it cost to move it from point A to point B,
yeah,
maintenance wise, gas wise. And if I remember him talking about how much it broke down. And I don't know if that was specific, just how much it cost to maintain. But
yeah.
that's one of the biggest things that stuck in my mind about those big RVs. So you went with just the DIY route. Uh, why school bus?
Really, just because of the cost. We That was at the time that people were starting to build some pretty nice looking rigs. Um, and the hard part about my job in my industry now is when people think of a bus conversion, they think of somebody buying a bus for $3,000, ripping the seats out, and throwing their grandmother's couch in there, and then sleeping in it across the country, like down
Mm-hmm.
by the river, kind of a story. But I'm currently sitting in one of our clients' buses. We had turned this shuttle bus into a mobile office. Um, and most people don't think it's a bus. We do high end luxury fits that are fully functional and comfortable, that are designed to be out in the elements 365 days a year, that are powered by the
Mm-hmm.
sun. I mean, it's 95 degrees outside right now. I'm sitting in this nice climate controlled area with shiplap and cedar walls, shiplap walls and cedar ceilings, and white oak desk and bamboo flooring and nice stuff. Um, so I wanted to get into building buses the way that when somebody that could afford a nice RV, they didn't do the bus because it was the cheaper route, but then they would do a bus because, oh, this actually fits my needs and it's going to be more functional. So everything we do is high quality. It's real materials. There's no particle board. We do closed cell insulation. We do very high energy efficient components and appliances inside of our rigs, that you can be in this thing completely at no expense endlessly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is there a particular make, model, length that is your favorite or works the best for these conversions?
um, I have my preferences, but I've done probably, I think, like 25 different rigs, for people across the nation. And I have never worked on the same vehicle twice. There's all different types of makes and models and sizes and features and benefits, that they're all unique. My preference is kind of on the shorter side, because the area of expertise that I kind of sell and emphasize on is developing a functional space in as small as possible. Because
Mm-hmm.
so I had just built a 40-foot long school bus with a roof raise that is a behemoth of a vehicle. I mean, it's massive. It's like your tour bus that you're talking about. Um, and that vehicle at being 40 feet long had everything and it did everything that somebody would need in the same 22-foot bus we had built back in the fall.
Hmm.
It still slept three people. It had a shower, a toilet, a kitchen with a place to cook. It had an apartment sized refrigerator. It had a good water supply system. It was powered by the sun with air conditioning and heat. So we just condensed that down into 22 feet. So, I mean, it's a lot smaller space, but at 40 feet, it still had all the same features and benefits as the 22-foot rig. So I like building things that are completely functional. And if you are strategic enough and plan things thoroughly enough, then you can get everything you need at a pretty small footprint.
And what were some of the biggest lessons learned in that first build, or any misconceptions that were quickly corrected?
Um, there's a building buses is not so much of like a carpenter kind of a mindset and a contractor kind of a mindset, but I've
Hmm.
this past year I've been called an engineer and an artist more than anything else, which I really appreciate, especially coming from my background of barely graduating high school. Um, so to kind of be put into a category like that is a nice compliment. But the biggest lessons learned within our first build, which is why it took so long, is being intentional and thinking about every step of the way as it's being done. So the compounding effects, if I go ahead and put this wall up, is that going to enable me from running my electrical lines or my plumbing lines? Or am I going to be able to see where I need to drill a hole on the outside? Because if I can't see it and I drill through a wire, then I just caused a big problem for myself. So it's kind of like
Hmm.
foreshadowing all the things that you need to do to plan the actual ending of the build. And I get that right most of the time, which is why my process is no longer 2 years, but like 3 to 6 months. And that just comes with, a lot of suffering of figuring this stuff out over the past 5 years, doing it a lot of times. So that's kind of like the biggest lesson is being very intentional and thinking about all the steps that are going to happen between now and 100%.
And how do you strike that balance? Because you've got this very finite amount of cubic space. How do you find the balance between form and function? That comfort and storage or utility. How do you find the balance there?
I don't think it's that hard, honestly. But I think a lot of us are just kind of conditioned or spoiled to access, and that's not necessity. Like when we were in our house, we had a 1,500 square foot house that we slept in one bed in. We sat on the couch and we ate dinner in the kitchen. So we used three rooms of this entire 1,500 square foot house, and it was just my wife and I. And when we would cook dinner, we don't like doing dishes, so we wouldn't get out all of the dishes we needed to cook the meal. We'd probably use a pot or maybe two. So then when we went from the house to the FJ Cruiser and only having a two-burner stove, we realized that most of the things that we do, the shirts that I like to wear are like six different shirts out of the closet full. And the same with like pants and shoes. And like, we go back to those things that we are fans of the most. So having access to amount of space isn't necessary, isn't really a need. You have to have a place to take a shower. You got to have a place to cook a meal and wash dishes, but you don't need a huge farmhouse sinks that's 36 inches deep if it's just three people. Your average plate is 10 to 12 inches. So the sinks that we put in these buses are large enough to fit a pot and a plate. Because when you're also in these small spaces, you're trying to be as efficient as possible. So you're doing the dishes fast with a little bit of amount of water. So when I have these consults with people, I'm like, hey, like you talk about wanting a three burner stove with an oven. How often do you currently use your oven at your house when you have all the options in the world? When you get into a small space, you have less options. So like when I have an oven, we cook frozen pizzas and cookies in it, and that's about it. So it's like, all right,
Oh, I mean, an air fryer and instant pot. I use those more than I do the microwave and the oven,
yeah,
anyways.
Yes,
Sounds pretty good.
70% of our clients do that as well. And that's why we say, hey, you know what? Instead of dedicating, it comes out to like 2.5 cubic feet of your kitchen space for the oven. Let's take out the oven and give you an air fryer toaster oven, and it's going to perform and do everything you need, but you're not dedicating that space to only 10% of your kitchen time.
That
So
well, that's a really good point. So, do you still put ovens in there? Maybe smaller ovens, or just turn into that would be space into more storage?
we leave that up to the client. I mean, I give you my best practices and words of encouragement and insights and my experiences. But like the previous build that just left,
Hmm.
he had
It's
a 40 foot
also
bus. Oh, yeah, sorry. He had a 40 foot bus, and we put an oven in it. It was just him. It's his retirement home. He sold his house in Arizona, so he wanted as much space as could, so that the cabin fever took as long as possible to creep into him. So that he was like, you know what, I've got this space available. Yeah, let me put an oven there.
That also brings up the energy concern, energy consumption, because of course heat producing uh, uh, elements like the air fryer, oven, whatever you're going to put in there, uh, there's power usage. So how do you how do you create the power in these things? Does it all come from the alternator, from
No,
the bus engine?
I think out of the 25 different rigs we've done, I would probably say that 80% of those we ended up putting solar power on the roof of them. Solar power over the past 6 years has gone very fast in growth and the efficiency and also the cost. So that is, I mean, every vehicle that we're doing this point forward are solar powered, because it's just like the way I've described it to my clients is, remember when you were growing up and you wanted to have a phone call, and the cord was attached to the wall, and then you could only stay in the living room on the phone, and then you have a cordless phone in your house that you could kind of like wander a little bit more around the area. And then we have now cell phones that we can have whatever we possibly need, whatever we need, anywhere. That's what solar does for you. It doesn't tie you to a generator. It doesn't tie you to have to be plugged up to a campground. But if you're like, you know what, I've been having a really good day at this beach, I don't want to leave, but my batteries are running low. That's not a variable anymore, because you have solar on your roof that then charges everything. So you can stay there as long as you want until the cops come and say, hey, you can't stay here. So the solar gives people the freedom that they've never experienced before. And it's just like, it's that luxury that you didn't understand was a luxury until you have that option.
Hmm. What about various living spaces within there? Do you have a dedicated uh, uh, bedrooms or sleeping spaces, or are they more like convertible futons or something?
Yeah, most of our stuff are fixed structures. So like, there's a bedroom in the back almost every single time. There's either which would be either include a closet or kind of have like a back hall that we can divide between the front and the back space. Um, so we do have like our dedicated spaces. A lot of times the kitchen is in the living room and the living room's in the kitchen. So we kind of, you try to change a couple of dimensions and dividers that make you feel like you're in a separate space.
Hmm.
I mean, it's think about the concept of like a cubicle. People are in this one big room, and then you put up a 4 foot wall, and now you feel like you're in your own little cubby. So if you kind of keep that mindset in these little spaces, and you put a little divider between your kitchen and your living room, that could be a 4 inch riser off the countertop, that makes you feel like you're not sitting right next to the kitchen sink, but now there's an armrest between you and the kitchen. So now you're a little more comfortable. So
Oh,
it's kind of understanding those little psychologies and sociology factors of like, oh, we can divide this space by tricking our minds and letting us feel like we're in two different spaces.
how about a family of six? How are you doing that? Is that like my Navy days where the berthing areas were these bunk beds, three, sometimes four tall, with what they call coffin racks. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with those?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's stores like it.
It's the same concept. Like those bunk beds have curtains. those bunk beds have curtains and you just close that curtain and then you feel like you're in your own little secluded space, even though there's somebody on top of you, somebody below you. Is it the same as having a 2 inch or a 4 inch thick wall at your house? No.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just trying to like, not see somebody, then that's enough. So, and that's just part of the give and take too, is you're also signing up to be in a common area. I mean, think of it like a studio apartment. If a studio apartment's fine if it's just you, but if it's you and four other people, it's not the most inviting thing. But then if it's also your family, you're doing this with the intention of spending more time with them. So we break down as many of those barriers as possible so that you're like, you know what? We don't want to separate us from the kids. We want the kids to be in the same space with us. And that's what we try to do. Of course, like we try to put doors and sliders and all these fancy things to separate the spaces so that parents can be parents and the kids can have their own little areas. But that is kind of like the pros and cons with the tinier spaces.
How do you create a storage space where normally there might not be? How do you do? I guess this is another one of those economy of square footage or cubic footage.
Um, it's building out the spaces with intention. Um, like for instance, the closet in our house right now that we're living in, it's the closet is like 3.5 feet deep, and it's just large enough to hang clothes. It's not deep. At 3.5 feet, you're not getting anything extra because the clothes itself are only 24 inches wide from shoulder to shoulder. So you lost like a foot worth of space in that closet. Even though it's larger, you're not utilizing that. So when we build our closets, we build them for the size of the person's coat and jacket, which is typically around 24 to 27 inches. So then we just gained that little bit of space extra that has been wasted in a house. So like when we build our pantries, we don't just build a bunch of 12-inch boxes. You know how many pieces of food in your pantry that are actually 12 inches tall? Very few. Most of them are like 9 to 10 inches tall. So if you do that and build them intentionally, you can actually get like a whole nother shelf in your pantry if you knock down that 12 inches and bring it down to 8 and 10 inches. So we think about like, all right, what are you actually going to put in this thing? How do you actually cook? What supplies are you a fresh vegetable kind of guy? Or are you a canned guy? If you're a canned guy, then we build a bunch of shelves for cans. So those are like part of our qualifying questions that say, hey, if we're going to build this, we need to understand your use case and what you do so that it is built for you and how you're going to perform so that we're not wasting all this space. And the other part of it is me just being kind of smart and engineering these spaces that can do multiple different things or can be adapted for functional spaces. And fortunately, that's just gotten a little bit easier as we've done multiples of these builds.
What are some of your favorite or maybe more surprising amenities or innovations that you've come across or created when building these things?
Um, our pantries are actually pretty clever. I mean, it's kind of funny because you look at them, they don't look like anything special because they're just closets or they're just like these doors with shelves on them. But when we space everything out, we build it with intention. So that way you can actually fit a lot of stuff inside this pantry. Um, and then one of the things that I'm kind of proud about within our building is people kind of walk into these spaces and say, holy cow, like this is way bigger than I thought. Like, oh, I could see myself doing this. Like the idea of living in 200 square feet sucks. Like it does not sound fun. But then when you go and sit in a space that is actually 200 square feet and you're like, you have an 8-foot couch in this bus. This bus is only 30 feet long. Or you have a 3 feet by 3 foot shower in it or a king size bed. Like they're like, oh, this is a nice, cozy spot. And I have to thank my wife for that one because as creative as I am with content and building things, I have no idea what it takes to make something look cute and homey. So she does all of that kind of like shiplap and the stains and the trims and all these extra things that make somebody walk in and be like, oh, wow, like this is actually a nice space. Because that's kind of what we want is we want this space to be inviting and homey so that people want to come and sit down and chill. Like when people just get in and leave, like that's not what we wanted. Like we didn't build these spaces for people just to ooh and ah. We've all seen somebody's nice house that's got marble floors and gold chandeliers with glass and all these like fancy things. But then we there's those spaces aren't equally as inviting as somebody that's just got this 900 square foot house with a small little kitchen that you've got 17 people having a good time in. So that's kind of one of our things that we're proud of is building a space that people want to chill in.
What? Did you keep the yellow paint and the stop sign and all of that, or how do you make the exterior look different than you're going to pick up 30 kids and bring them to your
Uh,
home?
as much as I respect the repurposing part of my job, I don't like the fact that these things typically look like buses, because buses don't scream enjoyment for a lot of people in their childhoods. Most people did not want to go on a school bus when they were going to school, um, and I was one of them. So when I bought our bus, my goal was for it to not look like a school bus. I wanted somebody to see this big thing driving down the road and then like see it and then look away and then like look back at it and say, wait a second, I that actually might have been an old school bus. I think that was an old school bus. So I was always kind of going for the double take, and that's still the mindset that we go with today. And especially as we're building these like mobile businesses and offices, we have some clients with some very high end customers, and I want to make sure that they walk into a space and they're not feeling like they're just walking into some old school bus, but they're walking into an intentionally built office so that they can do business in. And then it's not just some old thing that somebody bought because it was a cheaper alternative. Um,
Hmm.
right now, what we do now is also not like a cheaper alternative because we do so much to them to make them the nice vessel that they are. But when you say, "Oh yeah, come check out my bus," most people aren't going to think that we're doing what we're doing. They're going to say what I said earlier of like your grandmother's couch in your old bus. Um, so I try to do everything I can, which is I think I have a decent skill set in making a vehicle look pretty good. I was a car guy growing up. I've always kind of modified all my cars to a degree, and I've really appreciated that there's these small little nuances that you can do to a vehicle that make it look a little nicer.
Imagine
So,
the power of that stop sign, though.
oh, I know.
Turn
Well,
around and just flip that thing up.
what's really fun is I just bought an ambulance, which you can see behind me, and that's actually going to be our company vehicle. But I bought it as a retired ambulance, so the lights still work, the siren still works, the PA still works. And I was taking the guy that works with me to lunch, and he's like, "Man, you can like part the Red Sea with this thing." It's like you're in traffic and you turn on the sirens and the lights, and the whole road's going to divide. Not that I've done
Does
that.
the
That's illegal.
does the curved roof, is that a challenge versus the uh, square, the rectangular shapes of the standard RVs, except for the
Completely.
Airstream thing?
Yes, completely. That's the biggest on the business side of this. That's the biggest hurdle, is because each build is different. We have a process of how we do things that we have been able to speed up quite a bit over the periods, but every single build is different. So every single wall is different. Every single cut is different. There is nothing that we have that is like pre-manufactured or prefabbed, um, because every single vehicle is different. So the time that it takes to get to a point, in our industry is a lot longer than it would be if you had the same model each and every time, which is why vans get pumped out in 3 months versus we're building stuff in 6 to 9 months,
Hmm.
because they have a process and templates. So that's kind of what I'm trying to work on is building a company that is actually a scalable thing that allows to duplicate the same process and have an exact system on this is how we do it. This is a template. This is how we cut, and we can measure everything down to the foot of wire that we have, so that we can speed up the process and I can be more present in my family's life rather than being the artist, the engineer that has to come up with these solutions to all of these new variables.
And are you doing anything to the exterior except, of course, changing the appearance? Is there? I know some. vans that have awnings, retractable awnings, roof racks, exterior storage, that kind of thing.
Yes, everything and all the above. The mobile office I'm currently sitting on has a 12 by, I think a 12 by 10 exterior awning that's power. We did a custom roof rack for the top of it that's also got four large LED lights that shine out the front. The bus that we're currently building right behind me is I just bought a huge bumper brush guard for the front of that thing. We're going to do under storage. We do custom roof racks and rooftop decks with the solar brackets, um, exterior showers and or shore plugs and underglow lighting, exterior lights, everything that you possibly might want on a vehicle. We have probably put on in some form or fashion.
Hmm.
So
What sort? Oh, go ahead.
no, yeah. So we do a lot, and the outside's my kind of my favorite. Because I just like cool looking vehicles. So I try to think about what these things could do. I found that brush card for this bus on Facebook Marketplace and I sent it to the client and he was like, that needs to go on the bus. And I was like, I agree. And it's this nice, cool, beefy looking Mad Max bus bumper that we just retrofitted to the front of this thing. So, and it's practical. So if he hits a deer, it just bounces right off.
I think for my brood, I would have to be one of those county jail transfer buses with the mesh wire windows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, but okay. So, what are some of the considerations that maybe we wouldn't normally think of? Anybody, the novice wouldn't assume would be necessary to consider.
There's kind of a lot of them. Um, well, I think one of the biggest things is people think they need all of this extra stuff and all of this extra space built out. And I need all of these like fancy gizmos and gadgets. But what I like to do is just let people reflect back on how they actually live and how they actually do things. Um, because in most cases, I think a lot of people, like I said earlier, have a lot of like excess. Oh, I need a large kitchen because I cook all the time. I need to have the 3 burner or the 4 burners. I need to have 40 gallons of or 40 pounds of propane on the bus. I need to take I need to have 250 gallons of water because I like to take showers. It's like, okay, well, if you like to take showers, how long is your shower? Well, I usually am in for like 5 or 10 minutes. It's like, okay, cool. Well, if you get an efficient shower head, then you can take a 10-minute shower with like 8 gallons of water. Um, or when people are like said they love to cook and they need a big kitchen. I'm like, how big is your kitchen right now? And they're like, oh, I've got like a 20-inch sink, and then I've got about 4 inches or 4 feet of countertop space. And I was like, is that performing well? And they're like, yeah, it works great. I love it. I'm like, cool. Then that's all we need. We only need a 6-foot kitchen. We don't need a 10-foot kitchen. Because also like, the material size of all that is a lot of things come in 8 feet or 12 feet. So if we go a 10-foot, then we just bought 2 slabs of butcher block countertop and then we just wasted half of it. So I try to,
Where are we gonna fit that island?
yeah. Well, and like we actually, our first bus, I've never seen another one with it, but we had a kitchen island in our bus.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a tiny little thing, but it was every bit of a kitchen island should be, which is designed to be a little bit more prep space or cut some vegetables because that's what people do with their kitchen island is they have a little bit more prep space. And that's what we did.
And then, so what would you say would be average cost or price range for one of these conversions?
Yeah, that's the kind of the tricky part, but also the part that when you think about the ROI on these things is we're at the end of the day we're building like affordable housing. I lived in my bus with my 2 kids and wife for 2 years, and our expenses were so minimal that it allowed us to actually be present, be a family, and to grow into a
Mhm.
spot that we're at today. Um, but the builds that we build now usually start off around like $60,000, and then just kind of go up from there. On the high end, the most we've done is about $200,000 for a build. Um, but yeah, typically around like $100,000 is going to get you a pretty nice build that is going to perform how you need it to perform.
Well, that's fair enough. But you're not doing just living spaces with these, right? You're doing more professional conversions. Do you have any examples of what professionals are using these for?
Yeah. So, if you ultimately, if you think about what we do, is we just build spaces in four walls. It's a vehicle with four walls, just like the office you're in right now has four walls. The office you're in right now is fixed to a structure that's planted on the ground. The office that I'm in right now could go down the road at 80 miles an hour. Um, so we build spaces that are designed to perform how they have traditionally, but then you can just take them with you. So we've done kids' mobile classrooms like art studios. We've done mobile book clinics. We've done two mobile therapy studios. Um, we've done two mobile offices, which are designed for job site developments and realtors. Um, and then we've done coffee carts, banana carts, kind of anything that you think you could do in four walls, we can put in a vehicle now and it can be mobile. So that means you can own it or you can move it with you.
Hmm.
So,
Oh, yes.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just wondering how do you manage the temperature and light coming through? Are you keeping uh, all of the original windows in these things? Are you popping all those things out and changing that entirely? How's that work?
Yeah, no, we take everything down to the bones, straight to metal, and we try to delete as many windows as we possibly can because of the insulation factor. There is the aesthetic part of the windows that is kind of appealing. So if the bus I'm in right now, on the right side has all the factory windows because this is designed to represent a development for a multi-million dollar neighborhood, and it's large parcel lots. The lots are like between 10 to 100 acres. So you're in this office looking at the parcel that you're about to buy. So you want to see all that nice land. So we kept half the windows on this side, but the other side, on the driver's side, we deleted everything because now this is a place to put a TV and art and a functional space, just like an office. So we try to delete as many windows as possible. We take everything down to the studs. We add new insulation that is high efficiency with closed cell spray foam. It's got a really good RO value. It's also really good for sound deadening and moisture control.
Hmm.
And then we keep the roofs white because of the heat transfer between white to black is substantially different. We also then add solar, which is not only the power source, but then also basically means the bus is parked in shade all the time because the sun hits the solar panels and doesn't transfer to the actual roof of the bus. So the thermal bridging between the exterior temperature and the interior temperature is then diluted substantially. Um, so that's kind of like one of the compound effects of solar. And then we just build everything for efficiency. So we put mini split inverters inside these buses because they can run off 15 amp circuits. They pull the highest I've seen is about 1,000 watts. So this current unit we're in right now has 1,900 watts of solar on the roof. So this mini split is running completely right now at 70 degrees and also enough capacity to charge the batteries that are on board that gets you through the night. I'm allowed to run these LED lights and run the TV and Starlink and all those things because we just build things with intention and build things for efficient.
Hmm. You include, say, uh, emergency generators or something like that. The sun isn't going to come out.
No, we don't. We don't. We have never done generators. We've made spots for generators, but like an own-in, built-in generator, the cost of doing something like that doesn't surpass the capacity to, or it isn't financially better off to do that rather than just adding more solar batteries because
Hmm.
lithium batteries are now pretty inexpensive. You can get a really large battery for $1,000. For me to get a generator, fabricate it, fix it to the bus is going to be thousands of dollars. So let's just increase your solar capacity with that money and build you something that is actually a little bit more robust and maybe with a little bit of redundancy by adding a DC to DC charger from the alternator and or a shore plug just in case. But we've never had a client that's needed a generator. So yeah.
Well, um, what do you think? What was your favorite build so far, and why?
Do you want the business side of that, or do you want the fun side of that?
What was that? Say that again.
So, do you want the business answer of that, and what I like for the business, or what I like as a piece of art that we have developed?
Mm-hmm.
Because that answer is kind of twofold. The my favorite build thus far, we've done a lot. I think the one that's I'm kind of most proud of that just gets people's ears perked is when I say that we turned a 1958 London double decker bus into a Harry Potter themed Airbnb. Um, because that's a pretty cool vessel that has a lot of history, that is also a really nice space that people can stay in and experience. We built that for a client, and it sits in Knoxville. It's a full stationary Airbnb, but it's got two queen beds upstairs with AC. It's got a tile shower and tub, full kitchen with the living room and TV, separate bathroom with the vanity, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of cool, like quirky things that my wife kind of got inspiration from the Harry Potter movies. Uh, and it's this large double decker 76-year-old purple bus, so it looks really neat. And then my favorite thus far that I'm kind of promoting is when I started doing this stuff, I did it with the intention of developing a culture that people wanted to be a part of. And then also something that would give my family a foundation to live off of, for me to be present and develop a life that I never had. Um, and as I've dove into this bus community, I realized that I am more of the artist than the business owner. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and while that is a lot of fun, I can't pass down artistry to my kids, let alone can they sell it or something happened to me. My wife couldn't sell our company. So it made me shift my mind into building something that is actually scalable, repeatable, and sellable. So now that I have this mobile office, and we have developed this for a client, he had this idea that he needed a job site office to represent a development he was selling, and he was tired of renting a portable trailer. So he was like, I want something that's unique and more efficient and that I can own and that I don't have to wait for land to get bulldozed, to run electricity, to then run internet, to then have this ugly portable put on the site. So we developed a nice, comfortable, inviting space that is completely self-sufficient, that he could deploy on site immediately and start using as a tool for his business so that he could make him money and make his employees money. So we did this space for him, and it was very fruitful for him that he ordered his second one within 7 months. So we had done two for him, and he's even talked about doing a third one. Um, and they're much easier to build because I don't have to try to figure out how to put a dishwasher and a hot shower and and four sleeping quarters inside of a little thing. I just need to build a nice, welcoming, inviting space that performs effectively for him. Um, so once I have done that, the scalability of that and the repeatability of that is a lot more attainable. So that's kind of where we're headed today, is building a manufacturing company for kind of luxury high end job site solutions.
That also, thank you, by the way, is answers what the question I forgot to ask about. Have you ever tried a double decker? That I would mention Airbnb, and I think that would be awesome. Except I would hate to, turn a bus into a duplex and have to, bang on the ceiling. Quiet down
Yeah.
out there. But it does definitely sound like you've found a career, created a business that you enjoy, that allows you to be creative and have some fun with it, and definitely something that you can be proud of, and that you can, show your kids, you know, how to be innovative, an entrepreneur, and a whole lot of other things. So I commend you on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Caleb, I think that's a perfect place to segue into our final segment, the countdown to impact. This is 3 books, 2 quotes, and 1 person who have all made an impact in your life.
Yeah, so the 3 books, the one that's most recent that's had the largest impact on my life that was very unexpected is actually the Bible, and the way that that has brought me a lot of sense of purpose and just somebody to live life with and not having to figure out everything else by myself. Um, that has been a positive impact in my life over these past 2 years. Um, One growing up that I really appreciate was that's called the rules of agreement. The four rules. Ooh, what was it called? The four agreements. The four agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz is basically like the four agreements that we subconsciously make with ourselves that define us who we are. That one was a great book. And then the first professional builds we did, a client gave me this book, and it was called Who Not How. And the book was the basis of growing up, especially in this business stuff. I always try to figure out, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And as I've gotten deeper into business and deeper into building and understanding things, and also adding family and more kids into that, the how do I do that question doesn't get answered as much. So it's replacing the how, but with who, and finding people in your life that can help you with these things, and help you answer these questions and help you figure out these variables that you don't know how to do, which then full circle brings me back to the Bible and having a relationship with God, and how that kind of had a positive impact. Is how do I do this? How do I do this? And you start reading the scriptures and you start reading that. There's a little bit of guidance that it just happens when you pick it up. So it's been a very good encouragement for me.
Terrific. And 2 quotes.
The two quotes. The one I've always had, it was the slogan from Dr. Pepper growing up, and it was "Be you, do what you do." And I've always kind of like lived by that, of being exactly who I'm supposed to be. And as that season has changed multiple times as I've grown up over the years, my wife and I just celebrated our 11-year wedding anniversary, and we were like joking about how many times we've been married to each other, because over the years you just change into different people. Um, but constantly staying to listening to what you feel like you should be doing, you're called to do, and not kind of putting that aside. Of course, there's a level of submission and taking care of the people and serving those people, but we were here to serve, and we were here to serve the best that we possibly can. And that's what we're supposed to do. And you serve the way that you feel like you need to do it. Just like I feel like I need to run this company and do this business thing. That's what I feel like I'm supposed to do, and that's how I serve. And the other one is, you're only going to get so many no's. So it kind of falls in line with a quote of Michael Jordan: "A failure after failure is why I succeed." But Gary Vaynerchuk talked about this. He had this phrase, and it was, "You're only going to get so many no's." And me understanding that and listening to that has allowed me to hurry up and get my nose out of the way and ask as many weird questions and put myself out there as much as I possibly can, so that I can weed out all of those no's as fast as possible. Because when somebody says yes to you and it's the right yes, a lot of things can change. And I had a client reach out and they said, "Can you do this bus for me?" And I said yes. Or we navigated that conversation. And then now, 4 years later, we're doing something entirely different. And it's because I asked a lot of people if I could help them with their projects. So
Excellent advice.
thank you.
And 1 person who's made an impact in your life.
That one is kind of tricky for me because I've been very independent, and it's me, as I've developed. And a year and a half ago, I'd say that I'm here because of me and what I've done. So if I had to coin somebody, aside from the Trinity of God, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I think there's a big influencer in my life, and it's Casey Neistat. And he's a YouTuber guy. He's pretty popular. But I've really appreciated his videos over the years, and how he's kind of shifted his focus of hustle, do something, put an effort, try, to then realizing that he is doing all those things and a lot of other things are failing. So he stepped back and focused on the things that are actually important, which is his wife and his kids. Um, and then now that he's got reins on those a little bit more, he's starting to make content again. And I've just really appreciated his way of living about life and understanding where he's won and lost and focusing on what is important and not important at those times. So,
Terrific. All right. Last two questions. One is, where can somebody find out more about you?
yeah, if you just search Backroad Purpose, um, then you'll find all of our content and all of our stories and all the things that we've done. We've been featured in a couple of different magazines and articles over the past couple of years. If you go to YouTube, you can watch a lot of our content, from our story in the FJ to buying the bus to having our son. I haven't made kid videos of our other kids yet because I'm so busy. But yeah, if you just search Backroad Purpose, it's going to give you all the links to everything we possibly do.
All right. And last question. What's your definition of living a life of impact?
Um, my definition of living a life of impact is it's kind of goes to my favorite poem, which is Our Deepest Fear. And our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And it goes to, you playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing a lot enlightened about shrinking so that other people don't feel insecure around you. And it's basically saying that uh, you need to do exactly what you're supposed to do, because you doing what you're supposed to do can have the largest impact in those around you. And if I didn't pursue this business thing and this bus thing, then I wouldn't be in the spot that I'm in today, let alone having this conversation with you, let alone given the opportunity for people to experience time, not only in my culture of the bus stuff, but then also with their families as they travel around. Because I sometimes wish that I was just a teacher, or I was just content with a consistent 9 to 5, because that just sounds so peaceful and happy. But that's not who God made me to be. He made me to be this guy that can keep getting rejected and keep standing up. So that's what I'm supposed to do. And that's how I think I'm going to have an impact, is by putting myself aside on my things to do what I'm supposed to do for other people.
Well, Caleb, thank you very much for sharing your time and your story and your very interesting work. Really, it's actually been a lot of fun just listening to your videos, and I really appreciate it. And for
Yeah.
you folks, thank you very much for tuning in again. Right now, open up that YouTube if you're not already watching us on YouTube. Go to Backroad Purpose and subscribe. I'm telling you, even if it's just out of curiosity, they are some pretty terrific videos. Until next time, see you soon.
Thanks, guys.